Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Warriors Den. Today we have a good show. We have a Q&A with Stefan Jawinski about balancing. We're going to have Mathieu Latulippe back. He was there the first stream of the year when we revealed season 1 of year 3. We're going to talk about rigging again. And Clarissa is going to be back on the show to talk about tournaments. But before, I need to address one thing. So, we have been hosting the Warriors Den now for over 2 years. The game launched in February 2017. We have more than 100 shows under the belt. And we love to talk with you about all things For Honor, including all the updates we've been bringing to the game and how you feel the game has evolved. As the community grown over the past 2 years, we wanted to remind everyone about the chat guidelines. One rule we want to highlight is that we have a zero tolerance policy, and I repeat, a zero tolerance policy for any form of harassment towards the people attending the show. Whether it's the host, so me, Michael Anthony, the dev members coming on the show, and any other guest. So any breach of this policy will result in an immediate chat ban from our channel. We have a great time coming here every week. We love doing that. We love coming on and talk to you and share and exchange with you. So we ask for your help to please maintain a respectful environment in the chat. So it's truly a request, a demand we have for you. Let's be nice to each other. We don't need to agree all the time. Let's be nice to each other. Good? Okay, so now we can go on the topics for today. So dynamic rewards. Last week we talked about it. We said we'd monitor. We have something this week. The maintenance was this morning. I saw some people posted the patch note even last night on Twitter. So as mentioned, we've monitored the reward gains over the week. We saw the system wasn't behaving as intended. So we tweaked the dynamic rewards and increased the number of steals and XP you're getting. There was a bug on the minimum rewards in dual versus AI because they were getting pulled from a different reward pool. So this is fixed. It should be much better now. And so that's a good news. Other thing, community contest. I've seen someone just before the show on Twitter saying, it's my first fan art for Honor. Do you like it? We love doing that. I don't know if I don't remember your name, but if you didn't submit it to For Honor contest at Ubisoft.com, do it, please. You get a chance to win a very cool pin inspired by Sakura herself. Now, new arcade weekly quest. So, let's get to it. Before the Blackstone Legion, before I don my armor and claim my demon name, Apollyon, I assign you a task. Find he who condemned my people, Dante the Lawbringer, but I reminded, he is my prey. You are merely my eyes. Need to slow down. I'll read that again, slower pace. Before the Blackstone Legion, before I don my armor and claim my demon name, Apollyon, I assign you a task. Find you condemn my people, Dante, the Lawbringer, but I reminded he is my prey. You are merely my eyes. Okay, now Max went again crazy. Okay, so was that better? So also new event order for the week, the special Slayer challenge. So you have to be the faction with the most takedowns performed in realistic Dominion. So it's from today, May 16, until May 23rd. Also, we have a special sale, Goth Day. So we get in touch with the darkness and save up to 50% on multiple items. It starts today, also until May 23rd. Content of the week. We have the Apollyon Wolf's Mask outfits for the Woolen now. For all the Woolen Zeros, they are 20,000 steel each. Let's take a look at the video. And we are back with Mr.
Somebody.
Mr. Stefan Jawinski. I can combine Mr. and Stefan.
Perfect. It just flows.
Yeah, it's my pace of going super fast. I'm combining words now. So we have a Q&A.
Let's do it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Good.
Fire away.
Fire away. So first question, we're gonna go not as fast as we can, but we have a bunch of them. So first one from Dark X Passenger. Hi all. I have several questions. You see, already I like him or her. Start by saying hi. Why make certain light attacks deal 18 plus damage? Isn't that the whole point of a heavy attack, to inflict major damage?
So currently some lights do a lot of damage. Range for the higher and the lower values of some of these light attacks is something that we keep an eye on. Obviously, we don't want the lights to be doing some absurd amount of damage, but at the same time, we want them to be threatening enough that you will throw them throughout the combat. Yes, we know that they're often like the heavy parry punish value that you get versus the heavy for the light parry punish. But we keep an eye on this stuff, and we may revisit at a point where light attacks are hitting a bit more.
Dark X Passenger had a second question. Can we expect more uninterruptible light attacks on blocks for other heroes?
I would say short answer, yes. I would expect to see more enhanced light attacks that allow player to continue the chain on block. I think we'll see it in some particular heroes, but definitely not all, because we have to be cognizant of 4v4 modes. You don't want to be locked down in block stun forever by, let's say, a Orochi or something like that.
So thank you, Dark X Passenger, for your questions. Now, Shields then game. Why was Raider Dodge GB not removed?
So, I mean, this one personally is strategy, in my mind at least. I think the community and everybody was about ready for Lawbringer to lose block on shove. Same thing with Shigoki armor. Same thing with Conqueror or Superior block on passive block. But my read was that the entire community wasn't ready for Raider Dodge guard break to be nerfed and or removed. I think everyone maybe now sees the power of it. So I think we're ready to say, okay, Raider Strong has been buffed. That part is working. We can pull back the reactive defensive tools.
Second question from that person. Having stamina is fun. Why aren't I allowed to have any while fighting raiders?
Okay, so you end up out of stamina against Raider. Right, that makes sense. Our coming mid-season patch does have the stamina changes. The big thing we have in that is that if you're out of stamina, anything that costs you stamina at that point will no longer reduce your stamina. It can only pause you if it was going to pause you anyway. The intention there being that you spend less time in out of stamina states, and people can't chain you forever in an out of stamina state, e.g. with like bash to bash to bash to bash. Eventually you're going to regen and get out.
So next question from Reddit Pancakes. I love that name. Hey, so far it's good. The questions are short.
Perfect.
I think they heard my
Reddit Pancakes?
My request about having shorter questions. But I saw a couple that are like 7 lines. Have the dev considered upping stamina across the board? It's been kind of awful since the Woolen arrived, and it feels worse as character gets more chains and reworks that they can frequently use because they're out of stamina all the time.
So again, this is speaking to the mid-season patch where we're going to make those changes to out of stamina. So once you're out of stamina, you'll be able to regen. Eventually, you won't be able to be reduced any further, and it should reduce the periods where you end up out of stamina for a very long time.
Thank you. Next question from XX Kevin D XX Lawbringer. This one's a bit longer.
Okay.
Any plans on continuing tweaking Lawbringer after all the feedback of the current rework? He's slightly better than before, but leaves a lot to be desired. His unblockable heavy mix-ups can be easily dodged from all directions. It's also uninterruptible since it doesn't have hyper armor.
Okay, let's hit these in two parts. So first, the escaping from mix-ups problem. Lawbringer wants to use the unblockable finisher to put you into mix-up. That's the idea of it. We know at the same time, globally, our problem is that there are a number of ways to escape mix-ups, not just for Lawbringer, but for quite a number of characters. This is what we're attempting to fix with the upcoming season. We think Lawbringer's case is an easy one to solve that way, as globally it falls right into the kind of regular timing as any other hero's second attack to third attack, or many other heroes' second attack to third attack. So I think that will solve Lawbringer's problem there specifically, and a number of others. So that's going to be really good. On the other side, the second question, or second part of the question, when it comes to uninterruptible stance, aka hyper armor, aka super armor with a twist, aka whatever you want to call it. For me, it doesn't make sense for Lawbringer to have a ton of hyper armor, because Lawbringer's identity is the counter-attacking character, right? It's the one with the best parry options. You've got the light for damage and or stun. You've got the impale into the wall. You've got the top unblockable, and you've got the zone attack. That's more than anyone else has. It has big damage. It lets you go into your chain, depending on which option you take. That's what we want Lawbringer to be about. If it's hyper armor on openers and stuff like that, it suddenly becomes a trading character, which is more like Hitokiri or Shugoki or something like that. So we think big armored character equals highest or nearly highest HP pool. That makes sense. The hyper armor doesn't quite make sense with the soul of the character.
Cool. Next one from CodeMac99. I made a post yesterday asking if people felt that parrying was off or not, how it was before the season, and the replies were overwhelmingly in agreement that parries are not as consistent as they were pre-season 10. Can you elaborate on this, if this is some sort of bug or intended change? Thanks.
So right now the thinking is that this is the usual cycle of a new season. A new hero comes out, there are improvements to some existing characters. These ones come with, faster light attacks than they used to have at 600 plus. Variable timing, heavies, and so on. So we're thinking it's the usual offense is getting better. We have to adapt, and in the meantime, we're missing all our parries against timings we used to know and now don't know.
So there's a level of adaptation for every season.
I think so. So let's see a couple weeks in, is it really the case still, or has it normalized?
Okay. Next one from Tassilian Fallout. Just one question here. Let's start with just one question here. Can we nerf the damage Hitokiri's fourth feat does to the commander in Breach, or at least allow the commander to dodge out of its way like he does with Catapult and Spear Storm, etc.? Even just one use of Senso Sakura, I think that's how it's spelled, feat takes a huge chunk of the commander's HP, and it's even worse when there's more than one Hitokiri on the enemy team.
So the tier 4 feat is definitely strong when it hits. It's something we keep.
That's a backflip one, right?
The super backflip one.
I love that one.
The death move. Yeah. It's super fun. That's why they're all doing it. It's the commanders and everyone else. It does take a lot of the commander's HP. At the same time, some of the other feeds do take a lot of the commander's HP. I think it's similar problem right now in that because you see a lot of Hitokiri, and teams have 2 and 4 Hitokiri on a team right now, it seems a bit overwhelming. I think it'll normalize over time, but it's definitely one that a lot of people internally are keeping an eye on, especially with respect to the commander.
Is that the same question for ready-to pancakes, or I'm just mixing? Yeah, just copied this one twice. Question from Doom Wanderer. Will the stamina drain on Raiders stunning tap be looking into? As for the moment, a successful hit of stunning tap sets the opponent's stamina to 20, maybe 40, don't quite remember, which means Raider could deplete 100 plus stamina in one move. Is this intended behavior, Your Honor?
So currently it is not quite that honorable. Right now, this is how all many of the stun moves work. They set you to 20, regardless of whether you're above or below that value. When we do the out of stamina changes with the mid-season patch, the moves that set you to a value like 20 will instead get exact stamina damage values. When we're looking at Raider Stunning Tap, we're looking in the 30-35 range for this. And then some of the other characters that have that will be on a case-by-case basis.
Next question from, I don't know how to say that. How do you say that?
Schwarbage.
From you? I didn't know how to say it. So, Warlord's upper armor starts at the last 200 ms in his EVs, which equates to 600 to 700 ms in his opener EVs and 500 ms in his chain EVs. This is very slow, especially compared to Itokitties and Raiders, whose upper armor starts extremely quick, 400 ms for Itokitties opener EVs and 300 for Raiders chain EVs. Would it be possible for Warlord to receive an update to this hyper armor to make it appear much earlier in his EVs?
So quickly looking at the Warlord's tree just before we put this together, it looks like it's happening 300 ms before the hit. This, I think, is about the latest that most characters have it in their heavy attack. Yes, Hitukiri is earlier. Yes, some other characters are earlier than Warlords. I think there's an interest as to when does the armor appear per character. I think there's also an interest in where does it start per chain. That is very interesting. For example, Berserker starting on 100 ms in everything after the opener, I think is cool and interesting and protects the Berserker nicely. I think if we were to go this way with Warlord, the finisher would be easier to do this way rather than making the opener a little earlier. Because if it gets too early, what we're keeping an eye on with Hitukiri is can Hitukiri easily trade when failing a parry, meaning you're using the armor to option select incoming attacks. Or is it a little too late and not? So it's kind of right on the edge, something we're keeping an eye on. So maybe, but maybe not. We'll see.
So next one from GWM. Are deflects going to be fixed? Getting side deflects is still quite difficult nowadays.
So deflects have always been very difficult on the sides. Yes, we're aware that there is an issue where basically dodge is, let's say, 33 ms worse on the sides, making your deflects a little harder to get. It seems as if we'll be able to do a fix for mid-season patch. Basically, it seems to have gotten a regression because of trying to fix the same time double hit bug. But yes, we want it to be fixed.
Okay. Next one from GWM. Is there any plans to change Lad's guard to be even with the rest of the assassin?
This definitely seems like a good idea to us. Shinobi's in the same boat, even though it's a Shinobi buff.
Question from Vapor Snake. My question for you and the team is, can anything be done for heroes with no effective ways to counter bashes to begin their offense when going up against heroes with easily accessible bashes?
So there are a couple of possibilities here. My current favorite is really trying to change the question a little bit, as right now, a lot of times people are speaking about, hey, how do we beat, or how do we counterattack a bash? How do we punish a bash? How do we punish X or Y or Z? But I'd like the question to become a little more like, what are my tools that can initiate, and then once I go, that I want to sustain with? And that becomes the global question. I think the change you would see there is that you would throw some stuff out a little bit more. You would want to keep going through your chain a little bit more. And whether you can high punish or low punish or not punish certain moves would maybe be a little less important, especially when things like bashes and so on are functionally 600 ms plus versus your openers, which are 500 ms typically. This is kind of where we're going with offense. You see the improvements to characters season by season to try to get to this point where attacking is good enough that they can't just like continually attempt to dodge forward and bash. At the same time, you see on their end, Conqueror, for example, does dodge forward, bash, light, stop, which is not what we want either. We want it to be, okay, it opened, continues to attack. So.
Next one from Little Test You, who wins the award of the shortest question of the day. Will the revenge system be tweaked?
So I think specifically what they're looking for here is a revenge bug. Yes, we're aware of it. Yes, we've been trying to repro it for some time. There hasn't been a lot of success that way. Recently, we seem to have come into what is causing it, and we'll keep you posted.
And last question, then you'll be excused, Your Honor.
Excused.
From Masters757s, what defensive/cheese mechanics are the devs looking to nuke next?
I didn't notice the cheese the first time I read this question. Okay, so let me say what defensive mechanics are the devs looking to nuke next, and we'll talk about that part. I think the three that are still the most problematic right now are, in my mind at least, Nobushi Hidden Stance. It gives the ability to counter guard break, so it's super safe. And with a couple of the pieces of the kit, Nobushi is very hard to chase out of the lane or even just kill without sending constantly 2+ people to deal with her. Zhang Zheng is in a similar case with Sifu's Poise. It's very safe. It backspaces easily. It can then go into other things and keep you basically safe all the time, or much of the time, let's say. And Shinobi's backflip is the other one. You can backflip super far. You get to the range where you become threatening as a ganker, which is what you want as a Shinobi. You can bail from a fight whenever you start to lose. And it's extremely difficult to punish even if you know what's going to happen. These should each have a little bit more risk to them. Yes, they can be extremely good at spacing and dodging, and this is what they're for, this is their purpose. That's cool. And they nicely have that identity and role, but they have to be beaten on read by something. And that's what we want to see.
Stefan, thank you very much.
Thank you
For joining us again this week. So there's a bunch of good questions. So we'll be right back to talk about tournament with Clarissa. And we are back on the Warriors Den, joined with Clarissa Armada to talk about tournaments.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking.
It's awesome. So for tournaments, last weekend we had three Dominion tournaments hosted by The Arena, our great friends, on Xbox, PC, and PS4. We had a lovely clip for you guys while we talk about it. On Sunday, PC, first place goes to UDDA. Is anyone
Hey, I know
really
that guy.
surprised? So,
He has a beard now?
he's always had a beard.
Oh, yeah, he always?
For a while. Yeah, for a
Okay.
while.
His shades are usually blinding me. Like,
Yeah, the shades usually is what everyone looks at.
See.
So first place UDDA, and second place up. And there were 6 teams that participated. There was no official tournament VOD, but you can watch the winning team, well, the captain, Clutchmeister, at twitch.tv/Clutchmeister to watch all the action. They played some fun comps, like you can see Orochi, PK, Centurion. It was really cool, especially the way that they gank against, like, for example, this, what is that, Conqueror? And all that good stuff. On Saturday, there was the Xbox tournament. There were 5 teams that participated. First place goes to EG Team 1. I believe that's Epic Gaming. And second place goes to Skal, Skaal. I think that's how you say it, Skal or Skaal.
Skal. You just dragged the A. Skal.
Skal.
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what? This show has like brought me some very tough challenges on naming.
Yeah, I mean, like that's
seems
kind of
like
the reason why I'm not saying most of their names, because I'm just like, I don't even know how to pronounce them, so I'd rather just say the name. And, you know, you can always go on battlefy.com/the-arena TV to find out who were the members of the winning teams. And also on Sunday that happened with PC was the Ps4 Tournament for 4v4. That's 4 teams. First place, Janae Ryodan. And second place was Pietro Emmett Zambelli. I think I said that right. Cool thing about this one was it was a bracket reset, meaning, you know, double elimination, you got to lose twice.
Yeah.
The people who won first place, they actually got knocked out by this team in the first round, and they were in the losers bracket, and then they made it all the way back to grand finals to beat the second place team twice in a row. So congratulations. It's really awesome.
Great. So what's coming this week?
Well, we also actually have a highlight video. No, you're good.
Oh.
We have a highlight video for you guys by the arena to showcase the highlights of the Dominion tournaments, especially for PC.
Let's take a look. And we are back. Nice video, guys. Thank you very much for sending that over. We love it.
Yep.
So, now the real question. What's coming up next?
Well, we have some fun tournaments this weekend. On Sunday, we have Crow's Nest 3v3 PC. 3v3 as in it's a brawl, except it's not 2 people, it's 3. It is on Saturday, May 18th at 1 p.m. EDT. Original prize is at $500, but thanks to some donations, it's currently at $630 US dollars. And Hyperion will be casting. Hyperion is a Twitch partner who also plays For Honor, Valkyrie main. You can find more information about it on battlefy.com/crows-nest. That was perfect. Use all that. Okay, sorry. And then the match will be streamed on twitch.tv/Hyperion. That's gonna be fun.
Can you do that again? Like,
Wait.
yeah, that's good. And the next one is very special.
Oh, yeah.
First time we talk about that on the show.
Yeah, I did ask about it. So, for those who don't know, we have a gaming league here at Ubisoft called Ubisoft Gaming League.
Clever
Open.
name.
I believe it's open for all devs, not just like For Honor.
No, it's all the devs. All
Yeah,
the
because we have games for.
and we don't only play Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
It's from like.
I think they had so pretty much today first, and then I'll go into the games. We are having our For Honor Breach Tournament Grand Finals. It's been going on since March, and we had 10 teams that were participating. Some of our For Honor devs will be participating as well.
Such as Stefan. That's
Yeah,
on the show
exactly.
before.
Stefan and Alex, who was I believe he was the Nobushi during the season event stream. He was on one of the teams.
Yeah.
So that's
been
going to
on
be
many
really
shows.
exciting. Yes, it's going to be publicly streamed on twitch.tv/Ubisoft Gaming League. It will be casted by me and my good friend Nolan, who isn't in the room, but he will also be with me. And that's going to start around 7 p.m.-ish. We're going to have a live audience, so people are allowed to come in starting at 6, and I'm sure we're going to start around 6:37 and all of that good stuff. So come support us. But we also, like as Luke said, we also had other games that's not just Ubisoft. So today we are also having our Rocket League Grand Finals. But we also have Tekken 7, which is really cool. There was a Just Dance, which I wanted to participate in, but by the time I came, they already started. So
Next time.
But yeah, we'll see. So come check it out and support everyone. So
Did
that's
we
fun.
give the address, the Twitch address for that?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I
good.
think so. Right? Yes.
Twitch.tv/Ubisoft Gaming League. So that's it.
Yeah.
And it's fun because it's been going on for a while.
And it's
now,
also
this season.
Breach, so I'm really excited to see who's going to come out top and the team comps and all that good stuff. And yeah, and also, of course, the Arena is having a PC Dominion tournament on Sunday at 1 p.m. You can find out all information on his Battlefy account. And that is it for our tournament section. But just like the highlights that the Arena gave to us, you can send all clips or information about tournaments that you're having at For Honor Tournaments at Ubisoft.com. Or tag us on Twitter. Please do it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Clarissa, and good luck tonight for the cast of this.
I'll try my best.
I'm sure it will be perfect.
It's going to be fun. I mean, like, I'll have Nolan with me. We're just going to talk, and I'll try my best not to say anything bad.
Cool. So thank you very much. Going to be right back with Mathieu Latulippe to talk about the mechanics of fabrics. And we are back on the Warriors Den with Mathieu Latulippe,
Hello, Nick.
the
How
one
you
and
doing?
only. If you watched Year 3, Season 1 live stream, Mathieu was on the show. We did an amazing segment at the time. And like popular demand, you wanted Mathieu back on the show.
It
So
has
there
been a
he is.
while.
So yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, but
It's been a long time.
yeah, over 3 months. But it's like a lot of people,
We're all very busy, you know?
exactly, and a lot of people came on the show to talk about a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And it's one thing we're going to try to do in the Warriors Den now is to do a little bit more of those special segments when we dig deeper in certain topics. And Mathieu had a bunch of stuff. He showed me yesterday. I understand pretty much 10% of it, but it's very cool. The 10% I understand is very cool.
Oh, well, that's a bad sign then.
No, but it's me. I'm not technical at all.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure the players will understand more.
exactly. I'm convinced. So take the wheel.
All right. So the first thing I want to mention is that much like the first time that I've spoken about the rigging and the skinning and stuff, when I'm saying something is cheap or something is expensive, I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about it being bad. I'm talking about it being easy on the console. I'm talking about it being the frame rate being better if it's cheap, while it's going to cost more frame rate if it's expensive. I just want to get that out of the way because it's confusing.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is I just want to talk 20 seconds about the first segment that I did, because cloth is no exception to everything else that we do on the characters. So let's just take a quick look at this. So here we have a polygon, and cloth is the same as any other, a bunch of polygons, it's a mesh, you know. Cloth is the same as any other meshes that you skin it. You add some bones in there, and then you bind the surface of your object to those bones, and you move the bones around, and there you go. This is just skinning and rigging, and cloth is no exception to that. You can see it in action here.
I love that. It's like
yeah.
a troll.
A 5-minute test, you know. So now that I've got that out of the way, and everybody remembers now that rigging is just bones and binding your mesh to those
And by
bones.
any chance, if after the show you want to go watch that segment, if you haven't done it so far, yesterday we tweeted from the 400 Game account and also from my account a link to that segment.
That's right. That's a good idea.
So you can go watch this and then come back and watch this one again.
It will make more sense.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue on. So cloth. Cloth, as people imagine it, as it exists in real life, doesn't work on computers. It doesn't exist like that. You can't have a soft surface and for it to simulate well on a computer. It doesn't work that way. What can be done, however, is
Be ready to see some magic.
springs. As a pendulum, you can have a spring. That's easy. There are tons of math behind that. It's very cheap. You can have that, no problem. What's also very cheap that you can have are 2 springs on pendulums.
Woo!
Very easy as well.
Can I have 3?
Oh, you can have a bunch of 3s even.
Okay.
It's all very cheap. Here you go, a bunch of 3s. Now
they don't know what's coming.
it's starting to kind of look like a bead curtain here. You know, like grandma used to have between the kitchen and the, well, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of
We don't
like
have the
cloth,
same grandma
right?
though, but I remember
Well, my
that.
grandma sort of had that. It's kind of like cloth, but not really because they're all separate.
Yeah.
So in order to have a nice surface, what if we put springs in between the bead lines? Now this is really starting to look like a surface, you know, made out of springs and kind of like cloth. You throw enough of those at the problem, and there you go. You have cloth. That's how it works on computers.
I'm curious to know, like, if people watching, how many of them knew that? Because for me, I didn't know that. It's very interesting to know all the tricks you use to make something that does not really exist on a computer.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, like, almost everything works like that. In fact, there's a couple of examples that I'll bring up in a moment. Real life also kind of works like that for cloth as well. If you take a piece of cloth and you look close enough, you'll notice that it's all a bunch of threads that are interconnected like this to make a surface. And, well, that's kind of like springs. So it kind of works the same way. It's just a lot cheaper when you're doing it on computers because you're not using as many springs as you have in real life. Unless you're making a movie, then you throw 1,000,000 springs at it and there's no problem. Let's carry on. So there is one thing I want to mention, like the elephant in the room in this stuff, and it is technology related to cloth, and it is Geophysics.
What?
Huh?
What is it? What's the elephant?
Geophysics.
Geophysics.
It's just a surname people give to the tech. It is in fact called soft bodies. So Geophysics, what does that? There are 2 flavors of that. There's a very cheap version where it's just rigging and skinning, and you're binding to a single bone, and the bone is just moving around. But there's also a very expensive version that is derived from cloth. Let me show you the difference between cloth and soft bodies, which we'll say is Geophysics. Cloth is a single surface. So if you drop a sphere of cloth, it's just going to flatten. It's not very interesting. It's just a single surface, you know, a flat surface. Soft bodies is the same technology with springs, only there's volume considered. There's springs inside as well. So it's kind of like jello-y, you know?
Yeah. It's gonna fall off.
Yeah, it's kind of rolling about. So Simulations are weirdly hard to control. They'll do whatever they want in their head, and you don't have much control over it. It'll do what it'll do. In fact, a lot of working with cloth is limiting how much they can do. I mean, we can see here, I just drop a ball and it starts rolling away. You know, that's terrible. That said, most games don't use soft bodies. We just use some bones and we move the bones around and we skin to it. Because using soft bodies as it is super expensive. It's hard to make because most software programs don't understand volume that well. And it's super expensive for a small detail you see in the screen that you barely notice. Plus, you know, in our case, we don't use it at all. There's no point to it. You know, you don't need pillows on a battleground. Everybody's.
You want to fall asleep on a battleground? Like,
yeah, maybe.
let's take a nap.
Maybe someday we will have pillows, but today we do not. You know, everybody's got well-fitting armor. Everybody's trying to stay as protected as possible. You don't got like big bellies flapping about. You know, it's all very. There's no point for this technology for us and for a lot of games.
We should not challenge Mathieu to have pillows on the battlefield.
Don't do that.
Because remember, he's the man behind the cow.
Yeah, that's right.
So he can come up with some tricks.
Perhaps one day we will have pillows when I feel like it. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about actual cloth working in the game. So let's take the Highlander, grab his cape, and put some cloth on it. Okay, you know, it's activated. It's all cool, right? It looks a little weird. I don't know what's up with that, but, you know, hey, the cloth is active, right? Oh.
What the hell is happening?
That's no good. What do we do with that? Well, like I said earlier, physics is hard to control. So as soon as you put cloth on a character, that's probably what you're going to get. It just goes nuts. And then you spend 80% of your time trying to make it do what you want it to do and nothing more and nothing less. It is kind of like the contrary of everything else we do in development, where you start and nothing's moving and everything's really simple, and then you spend all your time trying to make it move and make it look good. Well, physics like ragdolls and cloth and, you know, whatever other physical interactions you can have in games is the contrary. You press the button, everything happens, and it sucks.
Ragdoll bugs are some of the funniest bugs ever.
They're hilarious. But
Sometimes
also, they're not
like-
supposed to happen.
Yeah, they do like, I've seen some in our game, and sometimes characters start doing breakdancing. It's hilarious. I love that.
We do our best.
I know, I just think they're funny.
They
I'm
are
not
funny,
blaming
though.
you
Usually we keep them live just a little bit, just because they're funny, and then we try to,
to fix them.
yeah, to hunker down on them. So yeah, how do we make that cloth not go crazy? So we do that using what is called Vertex Paint. What is Vertex Paint? It is in essence, vertices, which are like the corners of the polygons that your character is made of, can have a color. You can paint on them. You don't need a texture. You can just paint colors on them and not use a texture. You can see here that I'm just painting directly on the cape. I removed the texture and I'm just putting colors directly on the cape of the Highlander. You know, it's not too fancy. You know, you can see the resolution is not too good. But it's surprising what you can get away with. And sometimes that vertex color isn't actually visible in game. We, in fact, hide it in game and use those colors to drive effects. In the case of cloth, we use it to drive values in the cloth. You could use it to drive all sorts of things. For a very long time, games used to use the vertex color for shadowing objects, for lighting. In fact, I'm talking about from like 1995 to like the end of the PS3 era. It was super common, so a very long time. Straight vertex paint used to be used by early 3D games like Mario 64 and Final Fantasy 7. When they didn't use textures, they just used the colors. But eventually, when they got textures in there, you know, vertex paint is still useful for. So one of the cases where you'd see a lot in that range of games was what I call the Looney Tunes effect, where you would look at something in the level and you'd notice like, everything's well lit and everything. And then there's this corner of wall that looks really weird, and you know that wall's going to explode and monsters are going to pour out. You know, it just has that look. Same with the old Looney Tunes cartoons where you look at the background and it's obvious that they were going to interact with that. That is usually because the shadows were made with vertex paint on the objects that were like on the wall, while everything else was lit with better technology that you couldn't actually move those parts but look better. So anyway, we do that with cloth. Here's a couple example of what we can do with that. Oh, wait. Here's the Highlander completely painted in Vertex color. No textures, the right-hand one. Like, he has from 40 to 80 megs of textures on him. It's freaking huge. He has no textures on the right hand here. He looks kind of, mobile-ish looking, but otherwise not that bad, For somebody who doesn't have any textures at all, pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a little buggy, just some blackness there where there's supposed to just be transparency, but it's all right. So anyway, controlling the cloth. Here's an example of painting some collision thickness. We have collision on the legs. So here we're saying, well, what if everything that was white was really wide collisions while everything black was really slim collisions? Well, we're painting the white down there and leaving the top alone. And when we activate it, we can see that, the cape kind of like pushes off the character. Not a great example, but, it is one. We have gravity that we can try here, where we're going to paint at the very tip of the cape some anti-gravity. Some negative gravity, rather. You'll see that the cape is just whoop, flying in the air. Magic. That's kind of how we drive the cloth. There's also like maximum distance that can go away from our original rigging and skinning. A bunch of different values like that you can play around with in order to make the cape look okay. Otherwise, as you saw, it kind of bounces all over the place and it sucks. Now, some other examples of cloth that's not in the game. That is in the game. I just messed up my own pun here. This is in fact not cloth. Sorry to say, it looks like cloth, it moves like cloth, not cloth. It used to be cloth, but then we put bones on it and we made an animation out of it, and then we removed the cloth, and now it's just skinning.
And when you showed me that yesterday, I didn't know that at all. But why do you do that?
So you do that because cloth is real time. Cloth is, simulated physics where it'll act to whatever you're doing in the world.
Okay.
These flags, you're never going to run into them. You don't touch them.
If you do, it's because you've been led.
Yeah, and even then, we keep them away from the zones where players can run into them. So there's no reason for it to be interactive. So we just pre-cook the whole movement, and it's a lot cheaper like that rather than running cloth all the time. In fact, it's so cheap that we have a ton of them in the map. If you can see little pink squares that are on these flags, look in the background. You'll see more of those pink squares. It'll show you how many of these fake cloths we got.
We
have a bunch of them over there. Yeah, just down there, There's a lot of them. So we do that. It looks great. It doesn't cost anything or barely anything. We would put real cloth on objects that you could actually run in, but we tend not to do that because they're expensive. We keep them for the characters and not worry about actually running into the cloth. However, we do have, let's talk about the actual cloth that we have in the game, but special cases for them, special uses. Here we have the Nobushi. Now, I said earlier, we're getting real in there, taking a good look. I said earlier that cloth is flat. It just acts on the flat surface. Oh. So why is the Nobushi's coat has a thickness, And the answer to that is pretty simple, is that it is a flat cloth. However, we have a high-resolution model that we bind to the surface of the cloth, and the cloth deforms that high-resolution model. So if you're colliding or if you're moving and stuff, it's still a flat surface, but it looks like it has volume.
Okay.
It's a trick. It's a visual trick. We use it a bunch. We use it for the flail. The flail is, in fact, cloth most of the time. We can see kind of
Except when he hits you in the face.
Yeah, exactly. We see the real cloth there. The black part is, in fact, the piece of cloth. The only case where the flail isn't cloth is when you swing and you want that contact to happen at the right place. Then we turn the cloth off and then we give him back some liberty once the hit happens. So we're going in and off cloth while animating the chain when you're hitting. Looks pretty convincing, I would say. And obviously this technology can be brought to weird places.
I love that one.
Here's an example of it in action with just, let's just put it on the Lawbringer. what's the worst that can happen?
You
It
know,
looks all right, you know.
yeah.
It's working out. I'm
Poor
sure there's
Lobster.
a million other examples of what we can use this thing for. I'm not sure of a use case for specifically having a flat lob ringer like this, but it's funny.
Yeah, and if you think about a way we could use that, let us know, Matthew. I'm sure Matthew will
Yeah, why not? You know,
will listen.
I'm all about doing weird things and convincing people to actually do it. So I think it's a good idea. That's that. It's pretty much what cloth is in our game.
Wow. Thank you very much, Matthew. I'm sure you learned a bunch today. Again, you can go watch this previous segment that we did in Year 3, Season 1.
It would probably make in context a lot more sense.
But it's good knowledge, like to open the hood and show people how things are done under the hood. It's really great. Mathieu, thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us. So we'll be right back with the last segment of the show, the Community Corner.
Good day, everybody.
And we are back for the last segment of today's show, the Community Corner. But before, I want to thank you all, because I'm told the chat is very nice today. So thank you very much for that. Let's do that next week and all the following weeks. It's great. So this way it makes everybody's life much easier and happier. So first video of the week from Ravioli. When you're playing with randoms, but you're all thinking the same thing.
Inner gate destroyed. Kill the commander. You are no child.
And thank you. Second video, Elsan41, exorcising the demons.
You captured Zone A.
Nice. Next one from Prince Yazuke, Shinigami Itokiri montage.
You lost Zone A.
Good way to end, to kill people. Next video from Mike the Kike. Vortio versus Raidero.
ディオ。ほう、向かってくるのか。逃げずにこのディオに近づいてくるのか。せっかく祖父のジョセフが私のザワールドの正体を試験終了チャイム直前まで問題を解いている受験生のような必死こいた気分で教えてくれたというのに。
近づかなきゃてめえをぶちのめせないんでな。
ほほう。では十分近づくがよい。
Kaboom! So next video from the Plague Watcher. Wow.
Defeat.
Oops. So before we go to our last video of the day, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Warriors Den. It's been a good show. Thank you to Stéphane, Clarissa, and Mathieu for your participation today. It was great. Right after the next video, we're going to go and raid Nikki Doe. So show her some love. So last video from Euphoria 1v2 Celtic compilation. Thank you very much. Have a nice week.